During the Civil War between 1936 and 1939, Barcelona became the first city in the world to be systematically bombed over the course of a continuous period of time. German Nazi and Italian fascist aircraft, in preparation for World War II, carried out hundreds of blitzes on the Catalan capital. But one instrument that the locals had to defend themselves with were bomb shelters, just like this one here beneath Plaza del Diamant in the neighbourhood of Gracia. Bomb shelters were mostly closed or forgotten after the war and only rediscovered decades later. In the case of the one at Plaza del Diamant, it wasn't until 1999 that it was reopened.
Hi ha fam, hi ha tristor, hi ha preocupació. Pensa que també hi ha molta gent que està als fronts, a la guerra.
Shelters were part of the passive defence efforts to resist attacks, as opposed to the active defence styles of shooting the enemy planes. When an incoming blitz was spotted coming, sirens would alarm throughout the city, alerting the people so that as many citizens as possible could scurry down into these underground shelters to wait out the bombing.
Sí que la gent moltes vegades s'enterava del bombardeig perquè sentia les bombes caure més que tocar la sirena, perquè a vegades tocaven paral·lelament.
Refugi 232 at Plaza del Diamant is made up of a series of long, tight corridors 12 metres below the ground, with benches built into either side and an area designated for medical treatment. All shelters had to be built with at least 2 entrance and exit points, in the event that one was rendered unusable. As well, the stairways into the ground had to take 2 90-degree turns, which would at least partially stop rubble potentially falling down towards the people. The near 200 air raids that Barcelona suffered ended up killing between 2,500 and 3,000 people, mostly civilians, but that number would undoubtedly have been a lot higher if it weren't for the roughly 1,400 bomb shelters under the ground across Barcelona. The systematic nature of the air raids was also designed to have a traumatic psychological effect on the population, and it was impossible to tell how long the attacks would last.
No saps les voltes que donaran, no saps si sortiran al mar i tornaran a entrar. No saps, vull dir, clar, aquest és un tema que fins que no tenien la certesa que l'avió ja anava cap a Mallorca, no tornaven a tocar les sirenes per donar el fi d'alarma.
Despite this, many reports from the time of the war noted how the locals kept their spirits up throughout this period, perhaps calmed by a sense of security provided by these shelters. Following the return to democracy, many historic shelters were destroyed to build car parks, but some across the city were saved for historical memory and have been opened up for visits in recent years.